So Thomas, today I thought we'd talk about voicemails. I don't really, just to be straight up, I don't listen to a lot of my voicemails. A lot of times they're spam. Every once in a while, I see someone that I know leave a voicemail. If it's a customer, I might check it just to see if they're telling me anything that I don't know. A lot of the times I know why they're calling though, and then I'll just call them right back. But they're not. It's not like the olden days where you'd have it record on a tape and you'd have to listen to it and then delete it and and that kind of thing. Those days are gone, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't listen to voicemails unless I was paid to as well. I think that's kind of where we're at right now. Voicemails have definitely lost their prevalence. Nevertheless, though, it's still good to have kind of an informed conversation about how to leave a good voicemail if you're going to leave them, and whether or not you should be leaving recorded messages or manual messages every single time.
Yeah, well, I mean, people like I still have to listen to the odd one, and sometimes those are unsolicited, and I listen, and it's WestJet offering me some fantastic deal, or the Canada or IRS are going to prosecute me for something or some other scam. But every once in a while, there's a real one in there, and I do listen to those ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And then can you tell whether or not the voicemail's been recorded or whether it's manual? Do you think?
Who the only recorded ones I get are horrible, and it's either the robo voice, which is obviously not a real person, or it's a pre-recording where they are very upfront that it's a pre-recording, and it's like, this message brought to you. We just had an election here. This message was from this candidate or whatever, and it's pre-recorded. So yeah, I think those ones is definitely obvious. I very rarely get pre-recorded ones from salespeople.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, in terms of pre-recorded messages, you can use them with a platform like Funnelflare, and there's a couple key things that I think I try to keep in all of mine. One is I keep them pretty short and to the point, so I make sure so they interact with my campaigns correctly, that they have the first name and then the reason I'm calling, and typically they'll also have obviously my name, where I'm calling from, and that's pretty much about it. Not too much more than that. I usually wouldn't actually use a pre-recorded message for much more than the first point of contact, especially if I am like kind of going through my power dialer, making calls, not really getting a lot of traction in terms of people actually having conversations. On that first point of contact, I don't have a lot of context to leave a more in-depth manual voicemail. So yeah, I'll just drop an automated one on that first point of contact.
So like when you say drop an automated one, so you're calling from inside Funnelflare, you reach a customer, you get it's their voicemail. You just click a button.
Yep, pretty much right in the pallet dialer. It's right there. In Funnelflare itself, I've gone through the whole process of uploading a voicemail. So you can probably speak a little more to sort of how to get that voicemail nice and clear.
There's a couple things you can do to get a nice, clean, recorded voicemail. So like the one you're talking about, that intro one, for me, that would be something like, hey, this is Adriel calling from Funnelflare. Looks like I couldn't reach you. I will send you a follow-up email with a link to my appointment scheduler. So set the expectation on what I'm going to do. And it's going to be fairly short. And that next one can be a little bit more in-depth. But in terms of what to do to record a great one is to use a good quality mic, like the best you can. If you've got just a so-so mic, but you're getting a lot of echo, like that's something you can fix. Kind of like a recording trick is to go into your like closet with all your shirts and stuff around. It makes it super dead, and it's a nice, clear voicemail. Because I mean, if you're going to record it, you're going to go through the trouble of recording it and reusing it like potentially hundreds of times. You might as well make sure that the quality is really good. Some other things you might want to do, what I just did there, you could pull those out. You could use something like Audacity, which is like a free audio editing program, and just pull out the ums or the breaths. Or often when you're leaving a voicemail, if you have to do multiple sentences, you'll have to do those breaths in.
Right.
They don't have to be in the voicemail. You can pull that stuff out if you want to. You can just remove some of those breaths or the pauses, get the timing right. And just reshoot it until you've got that perfect voicemail, or 95% of the way there, right? I mean, one of the nice things about a recorded voicemail is that it can be as close to a perfect take every time as possible, right?
And close to is great in this case, because if it's too perfect, it sounds way too automated.
Yeah.
it's not trustworthy or candid in that way.
Yeah, I like them to be a little bit informal. That one I was just saying there, it sounded off the cuff, but like I've practiced that one. I do that one on all the demos that I do, and it's a super common one. But I mean, you can make it sound good. You won't get like a bad case of verbal diarrhea or
Right.
brain block, and then leave like every once in a while. If you leave lots of voicemails, every once in a while you're going to leave a bad one, and you can't take it back.
Yeah, and I can.
There's no recall.
Definitely speak to that as a sales development representative, right? You start to trail off occasionally in your voicemails. You know why you're leaving a voicemail, but you might just continue to go on and on about something that is completely, separate from why you're calling. Yeah,
that can might get ahead of yourself, or
especially if you just left like 40 voicemails manually, they're going to start to lose their sort of impact after a little bit.
Yeah, and in the recorded one, you can be enthusiastic every time, and you're not going to lose it over time. But yeah, like you were mentioning there, it's great to use them for that first point of contact. When else would you want to use a manual voicemail versus a recorded one? Yeah,
so a manual one, you'd want to leave in the event that you have, again, more context to fill in some custom content to that voicemail. If you've already had a conversation, if there's something specific you want to bring up, that reflects back on that previous conversation. Those are good instances to leave a manual voicemail, right? So that way you can kind of add more specific detail about the persona, the prospect that you're calling, the company, the industry, right? That you're not going to be able to plan for in every single recorded voicemail you leave. As well as, again, adding a little bit of that candid flair too, where you're kind of being a bit off the cuff, a little more casual. I think those are good reasons to leave a manual voicemail.
Yeah, it's hard to get the earnestness through on a recording, but very easy to do it on a manual off the cuff email, especially when you can mention their name and industry and that kind of a thing. But I guess for your high volume, if you're just burning through a list and doing follow ups, it would be probably easier to do the recording one and just get a bunch of those done. Probably you don't have to think about it. You don't have to be on the phone for the 15 seconds or whatever for leaving the voicemail. You can just click a button and move on to the next one, right?
And it saves a lot of time in the event that you actually going to get somebody on the next call, right? So like you said, if you're doing higher volume, I really recommend First Touch. That's where recorded messages really succeed. But yeah, high volume, First Touch, just put them all out there. See what you can get coming back in on the other end. And then from there on, right, just keep calling until you get someone on the phone. So it's saving time with repeated effort being reproduced over and over again. And like you said, you have that enthusiasm on every single voicemail because you were enthusiastic when you recorded it. Yeah, you got all the awkwardness off, the sort of ticks or the ums, the ahs. It sounds really crisp and clean and to the point. And yeah, you get that every single time.